Welcome to the Creepin' It Real show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow us on Twitter at creepin_it and like us on Facebook at The Creepin' It Real Show. Do you have a paranormal story you'd like to share with us? You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com.
Cool beans.
No, not beans, bacon. Bacon.
Oh, you're eating bacon. Cool donuts for me.
There you go.
With that, welcome to the Creepin' It Real show. I am one of your hosts, Kristi. We are really churning these bad boys out today. This is number 2 of we were recording, so
not to say the show is a number 2, just that
no. Well, it'll be wonderful, I'm sure. But we're a bunch of boss bitches today, so we knocking these things out. I am over in Atlanta, and it's somewhat hot as hell, but Moni is in the Hades of hell in San Diego right now, and if her internet gets a little weird or if stuff blows up, it's because could be that she's experiencing a heat wave and it's overwhelming the system.
Blackouts and random fires. There was a firestorm. I don't even know what the fuck that means.
The fuck is a firestorm? Great.
Apparently also a rare thing, but welcome to 2020 is literally something that is what you think. It just appears and it's a firestorm.
Does it raining fire or is it just clouds of fire?
I mean, not yet, but let's not jinx us.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for the, okay. Sorry, my neighbor's emailing me. Texting me. So anyway, today we're going to talk about a fascinating conversation that I had with Stormy Daniels, and then a interview that I started with her, and then it ended up becoming a impromptu paranormal investigation. Really quick, I will kind of break down how I ended up talking to her. It was really random, and thanks to vodka and bang, I was way into myself drinking vodka and bang because it's like vodka chills me and then bang hypes me up. So I'm in this weird purgatory of whatever that makes you. And I'm playing games with my family on the patio, and I follow her on all her social medias and saw an announcement she had that she was doing this show, Spooky Babes. And I just on a whim messaged her and said, hey, I would love to interview you for my podcast. I'm always very, I don't hype us, but I don't shit on it either. I'm always like, we're really good. We're not the great, we don't have the greatest, numbers, but we're still awesome. And, and I tell her what the numbers are a month, and totally forgot I even did it. And, woke up the next morning and I had this message from her. Can you hear that? What the fuck? Did you hear that? Can you hear that? The hell?
I hear that. I have no idea what's happening. I have nothing open, so literally nothing open.
That is so weird. I didn't either. But there's 5 computers on this desk, so that was kind of weird.
Yeah, something's open somewhere, yeah.
So anyway, I woke up that morning. Sorry, that just freaked me the fuck out. And she had responded, and she was like, yeah, I'd love to. And then she asked me where I was located. And, I had said, well, one of us is in San Diego and 2 of us are in Atlanta. And she responds, I'm going to be in Atlanta next week. And I was like, okay. Just my mind's racing. I'm thinking Zoom call or something. I wasn't anticipating, meeting her, but she was really, about us, me doing the show with her, an interview, in person. So I was absolutely, fine with that. So anyway, I start talking to her that whole week back and forth. We just start chit-chatting on this instant message, and she told me all kinds of things, filled me in about her and her somewhat new experiences with dealing with people in the paranormal, and how it had been very negative for her. And that really sucks because to me, paranormal people should have the most open minds ever. But based on who she was as Stormy Daniels, the, porn star, a lot of people had shit on her for kind of turning into the paranormal. And I just think that's ridiculous. Like, give me a fucking break. But anyway, so I, very much told her that I don't feel that way. And, that's ridiculous. But anyway, so we talked for a while, and she invited me to come to the set that they were going to be doing some photographs. And in fact, I recommended the location because she asked me what location I would recommend. And it was funny because she's like, yeah, we can interview on one condition. And I'm thinking she's going to say, don't mention the T word, and completely prepared that would be fine because I have no interest in talking about him at all anyway, because I think he's a piece of shit. But, and I was like, what? And she goes, you can recommend some good photography sites. And I was like, yeah, I can mention. Are you kidding? I got a list. So I mentioned a bunch, and I'm like, there's a really great spot up here. And she ended up coming to the Old Mill, and it's a very huge Civil War historic site. And her bus showed up, this big ass fucking bus showed up to the Old Mill up here, and she texted me. She's like, I'm here. You want to meet us here? And through the process, I'm like, she's going to blow me off. I mean, it happens. I've worked with entertainment for decades. So I understand when you're filming a show, shit happens, and you can't follow through with all your commitments. So I was very prepared to think that that's not going to happen. And that was completely fine. So when she texted me, I was in my pajamas. So I was like, okay. So I threw on some jeans, put some dry shampoo in my hair, and went up to the location. And this was not the day of our interview. This was just me going up there to talk to her about the locations that I recommended for the show. So I did that. She had her whole team with her. I met everybody but John, the paranormal expert. He couldn't make it to the Atlanta location. I met them in Savannah the next day. So I took them to the Old Mill, and then I took them to Founder Cemetery, which is, down the street from the Old Mill. They got some really excellent shots and some footage for the show. And then the plan was for me to meet them at her hotel the next morning. And again, I was prepared to be blown off because they were up all night doing an investigation. So I'm like, would you really want to get your ass up at like 9 or 10 in the morning and do an interview for a podcast after you'd been up all night investigating? So again, did not have a lot of, nothing to shit on her. That's just, it's a lot to commit to. And so sure enough, she texted me the next day and was like, how's 10:30? And I was like, that'll be great. So I went down there. I went downtown. She was staying at the hotel she investigated the night before, the Ellis. So before I play the entire interview that ends up becoming an investigation, which Moni has watched as well,
yes.
I, explained to them that they knew there was a fire, but they didn't want to know a lot of details going in on the investigation because that's, like we had just talked about in our last episode, that will be after this one, is that knowing the history sometimes can kind of change the perspective of the investigation and make it less pure. So you kind of want to go in. So that's kind of what they did. And so she didn't know everything about the history until I told her when things started happening in the room while I'm interviewing her. So that was pretty interesting. So really quick, I'll kind of explain. The show she's doing is called Spooky Babes, and it's a whole team of people who traveled in this tour bus. And of course, Stormy is the main person. And then John, who is on Smoke and Mirrors Paranormal. It's a
show or?
No, it's a paranormal group, but he's been on like Ghost Adventures and some other shows. And he has that with his wife, and they do that, and they do a lot of paranormal investigations. Excuse me, I don't want to butcher his name, but Gamal, I think, is how you say his name. And then Anya and Connor and Justin. So Moni's going to ask a little bit more in detail about them, so I will skip over that until she asks it. But the main tour that they went on was Atlanta, Savannah, Charleston, Raleigh, and Charlotte. And then after that, she the word got out that she was doing these investigations, and she got invited to go to these others. So then she started doing some side ones. So she went to the Sally house, and I'm so jealous.
Oh, I want to go so bad.
And
yes.
So Sally house is on the Kansas side of Kansas City. And then she went to the Vale mansion out of Kansas City on the Missouri side, which is supposedly notoriously haunted. And then Mickeneer Villa, which is again on the Kansas side of Kansas City, which seriously, I didn't know Kansas City was so haunted. So now I'm like dying to go there. There's a ton of spots you can hit apparently. Currently off and on, this just cracks me up, but her and John are traveling off and on with a haunted doll that they purchased from the Warren estate. And apparently it is legit haunted, and she might have actually caught footage of this doll moving. So this will be interesting. I actually sent John just last night some of the files of the investigation that I thought I heard voices. I was not using a recorder. I was just using my camera because it was a video, and I didn't expect an investigation. So I would have not, I would have brought different equipment, but so I sent it to him, and he's going to study it and see if he can amplify it and figure out what the heck it's saying. It's not that clear because, again, it's not digital recorder. I believe they had one when the investigation started. I believe they pulled one out, so I would love to cross-check that with their actual recorder, because I caught stuff. I just literally have a very hard time figuring out what they're saying. When I sent these to John, I was very paranoid when I sent them because these are all very big experts in the paranormal, and here I am like sending them these files, and I'm like, do I have what they call that auditory hallucination, where you think you hear voices from sounds or something, or am I just like an idiot? And he's like, what the hell are you even talking about? So anyway, that's kind of the backstory of how it happened, how I ended up meeting up with her, and a little bit about her team and the show. And I don't know when the footage is going to be released. I have no idea about any of that. She's supposed to let me know when that happens.
This is my rose quartz. I've been looking for you, baby.
See? You gifted it to yourself this time.
No. Okay, so we'll start off with Stormy, of course. I've caught up a little bit with you on messages, but I guess the biggest piece is to explain how you kind of got into... Seems like Paranormal found you more than...
Yeah. Yes. I've kind of always had a feeling, like, the stuff that everybody says that we all have, but we don't pay attention to, like the intuition, knowing somebody's going to call, and then they do, knowing what song's going to come next on the radio, having a bad feeling, and then not going that way, and then finding out later that something happened there.
Right.
Things like that. Knowing when something was wrong with somebody, and then calling them and saying, how did you know that my dog died? Or like, you just knowing things, I guess. And then I always had like one or two big paranormal experiences a year, like something undeniable. Holy shit, that just happened. Kind of like like Dwayne and I, my assistant, were in a hotel room in Pittsburgh 10 years ago, and I have straight up footage of the ceiling moving.
Wow, nuts.
They've seen it. I mean, and that was 10 years ago.
Footage.
But that was the only thing that happened that year. But I mean, when it happened, it was like,
I understand that.
Holy shit. And then 2 years ago, I met the guy that I started dating, and they say I came online. That's what, it just got more intense. And it was really difficult for me because at that time, everything was blowing up with the politics and the court cases and Trump and all that stuff. And I was doing these appearances, and they were packed, and it was people who normally wouldn't come out to a strip club or a Stormy Daniels appearance. So it wasn't my normal fans who were there with like, I know her as a porn star, I know her, I want to see her boobies, like, I want to tell her to sign my movie, that kind of energy. It was people who were so emotional, and I mean, it was overwhelmingly positive, which was strange. I didn't have any bad experiences at these clubs, but I would go to these clubs and like people would be lined up around the block, and I have video of people like chanting my name so loud I can't hear the music, and I'm like, I just want to take my shirt off and show you my titties, like, you know. But I would go
my titty beads,
which are magnificent. I haven't seen the whole package, but I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just staring at your boobs.
Yeah,
Let's just
I was like,
Stormy, your titties are magnificent.
thank you.
Which equally magnificent person
This
so
is
far
Thunder and
that I
Lightning.
met, but I was like, I'm really sorry, I'm just staring at your boobs right
That's
now.
okay. That's what I
Me and my co-host Moni are very self-admittedly boob women, so we're always talking about each other's boobs and filling each other's
Well, you have
boobs.
come to the right place.
And then she walks up to me, and I'm just like, oh, I just really want to strip those.
Anya's got great boobs.
And then I felt like such a creep when I got home. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
We all have great boobs.
here of some excellent fantastic.
Yes, was wonderful. But so moving on to the paranormal, I just had to get that out of the way. They are as great in person as you would think.
Yes, Thunder and Lightning, appreciate it. So I was going to these things, and I was coming off stage and like collapsing mentally, and I felt I could hear. It was loud, yes, but I could hear all these people and how emotional they were. And when you go from like just being, I mean, I was already famous, like, but being like, it was definitely a specific type of energy that I was used to.
Different.
And then having people come up to me, and women who don't normally go to clubs, and they're so like anxious, you know, they're uncomfortable in that environment anyway, a lot of times because they've never been to one.
I'm not.
I know, me either. But
I
they're
used to be in
like,
sports marketing. That's the first place you take them when you pick them up off the airplane.
Exactly.
Strip club.
but it was, people were saying every club, every appearance, every book signing, every place I went, people were saying the same thing. You're a hero.
Yeah.
Like the American public thanks you. And I'm like, I'm not a hero. I suck dick for money. Like, and
That's
and
not
they were,
not relevant in the whole situation.
First of all,
but
that is what a hero does. Not all heroes wear capes.
Exactly.
this one doesn't even wear underwear, apparently.
Neither do I.
Some of them.
We all wear, but like, do you?
But they were all saying like, you're a hero, and you're here. You're like, you have to save us. Like,
That's
you're here
a
to
huge
save the world. And I was like,
responsibility,
this is no pressure.
Yeah.
Like, where do I pick up my unicorn?
Oh.
But I was absorbing all this energy.
Because you're an empath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But at the same time that I came online by meeting my like twin flame or soulmate.
Right.
So I turned the light on at the same time everybody turned on their glow sticks or something.
Yeah,
I don't know how to describe it, but it was.
So everybody was giving you lots of good vibes. And
But it was
positive
so
energy.
overwhelming, and I was literally dying. Like, I was sobbing, and my bodyguard Travis was like, "You're like a sponge, baby. You got to wring it out. You got to wring it." And they started taking me every couple days to like the middle of nowhere and putting me off the bus and making me walk and lay in the grass in parks, and I would just sob and sob and sob and sob. And so the guy I was dating thought I was fucking insane, I'm sure. And then. So that was like the first step. And then a year ago, me and my ex moved into a house in New Orleans that was basically like moving onto a battery. And the house was haunted. It's very haunted. It's almost 200 years old. It's in the Garden District of New Orleans. It had its own spirits. I recognize. I felt it the second I walked in. But they were good. I liked them. They didn't bother me. But I am confident now that I have learned what I've learned in the last few months. Learning like. Finding out things, that there was a portal in that house, and this dark entity came through it. I saw it. I have it on video. It held him down twice. He attacked me one day. I saw his eyes turn black, and he put his hands on me, and he has not been the same since. And I mean, I have it on camera, I have it on audio, and so I began to go on a quest to understand the paranormal. And just basically, he thought I was crazy, but there are 22 people that stepped foot into that house, 22 of them, and the 21 of them had experiences. The only one that didn't was my daughter. And I think they just didn't mess with her. But she was present.
Very protective
Yeah.
in general.
She was present when things happened to other people, but nothing fucked with her.
Right.
Justin, who you met yesterday, had an experience in the bathroom at my house. And it was so intense for him that he was like, pack your shit, you're leaving. And he made me leave that moment and spend the night with him. And I never stayed at the house again. He was like, we are fucking leaving. Get your shit. And we never went back to the house until about 2 months ago. And we went in with knowledge, and he's led. I mean, it's a crazy story, but anyway, moving into that house and seeing what happened, and there had blood running down the walls, and like, and I have video and photos of all of this. They can vouch for me.
Yeah, like I've seen.
Hard to ignore stuff that's like smacks you in the face.
No, yeah, like I was, you know, she told me all this, and I was like, oh my god.
She's like, bitch, be crazy.
Well, I'm like, okay, but like, let me see. I want to see it so that I can like, all right, what are the stains? That ceiling video sent me.
Wow.
That was. I've never seen anything like that in my whole life.
Any
ever.
plans
I tried to think of any kind of explanation. Termites, air bubbles, water leakage. None of it makes sense. It was like it popped down and then crackled back like it had never.
And it did it over and over and over.
Never even been there. No mark.
And it even had certain geometry to it initially, almost like a heart in a certain form. And then, of course, it bowed out and then bowed back inwards and then began to transition in a way that didn't make. There was no plausible reason for that to manifest physically.
No.
Is there any plans to investigate that place?
So, no, that was 10 years ago, and it was the hotel. It was a hotel in Pittsburgh. Funny enough, last year when I went through on tour, we all stayed at the same hotel again. And my sister was like, "Fuck this!" But we were all there, and nothing happened. It was fine. I stayed there for 3 nights, and that happened on the last night. I felt nothing the rest of the time. So, long story short, I began to think I was crazy. My ex told me I was crazy. I thought I was going insane. I think I did a little bit, actually. And I said, I'm going to prove that these things are real. And I started, Spooky Babes, because I didn't want people to be like, oh, so you're a washed up porn star and now you're doing paranormal. So I am embracing it. We are still sexy. I still, I'm not turning my back on sex worker. I'm not using this to jumpstart my career into something else. Like, I still have my OnlyFans. I still have my website. I still dance at strip clubs when there's not
ways for you to make your money.
No, this is about something else. And the main purpose for me for doing this isn't just to prove to my ex that I'm not crazy, but is to prove to other people that it is and that they're not crazy. I want to normalize. I want to use the platform that I have for people who are experiencing things to not be ashamed and not go straight to a doctor and be like, I'm having nightmares. I'm getting held down in my sleep. Oh, here's some pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
here's
some getting locked up in the.
And it's just, I want to make them comfortable talking to people and open their minds. And the thing about our show that's going to be different, because there's so many paranormal shows, really, is that we're really going to follow up on aftercare when we go into these places. And so this is the Spooky Babes paranormal team. There's also a Spooky Babes healing team. That, we're going to normalize other treatments like Reiki and meditation and yoga and the importance of setting up your psychic boundaries. Because once we can go into a place and remove a spirit, or perform an exorcism or whatever it is that, they need. But once those doors are open and the lights have been, they turn on the lights, something else is going to come in because those people are already susceptible. So we're going to teach them how to protect their house and, and if not, if like, it's one of those instances that it's like, you guys are fucked. You need to get the fuck out. Like, I don't think that the house that I had in New Orleans at any point in time in the future would be safe for my ex to live in, even though I've closed the portal and all of this stuff. And, I want to make sure these people get out, because often when you watch paranormal shows, there's children involved. Like, even if you clear the energy and nothing ever, even if you debunk it and there's rusty pipes and a gas leak and everybody's hallucinating, these children that have been having nightmares and they believe these things
it's still very real to them. And therefore, because of this is something that I personally feel very passionate about. It doesn't have to be like this you can bring your own negativity. You can bring your own demons to you. You can find it yourself. And a lot of this, like, again, I think what makes our show so different is it's not just like, oh, let's go hunt some ghosts. Because I think a lot of the time there's a separation between, oh, we found it. See, the evidence is here. All right, let's go. And it's completely ignoring everything else, that if this has to exist, then this has to exist too. And right now, and I've heard this from so many people, talked to so many different energy healers, everyone, people I know all around the world, there's a huge, huge spiritual awakening happening right now for many different reasons. The main of which I believe is because the sort of structure of society as we know it has broken down. So now we have to look elsewhere within ourselves at the world around us, see how we feel, sit and feel for the first time in so long. And there are I was lucky enough that I found people who could tell me, no, you're not nuts. The amount of times I said to Stormy, I think I'm fucking crazy. She's like, you're not crazy. You are crazy, but you're not that crazy.
Or I called you and it's like, I think I'm going crazy.
You're not crazy. We're not crazy. But it's...
Yep.
And that's
so many minor things, so many things that people can do to protect themselves.
Oh, shit.
That's not, like, a lot of people think you have to know all and study. And I want to show people that there are simple ways to protect yourself, simple ways of grounding, simple ways to connect to the world around you. And it's not so difficult. And it should be something that we can all learn and we can all get peace from, because there's so much energy around us. And if we learn how to tap into that, it makes the entire difference in the world. Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how he and I met.
That's what we say. So how did you all come together? I think is the
crazy.
It's also actually, I don't even know whose story is crazier. We met yesterday.
Yes, properly. So I've been in communication with this one for a little while now. I specialize in removal of severe malevolent hauntings and phenomenon. So I focus on getting rid of negative entities and issues from people, going to different properties, performing the rites and rituals that are necessary to do that. And I've seen a lot of really, really screwed up shit from that. I mean, really. Yeah. But, so I got in contact with Stormy due to her experiences right there, too, to help at least operate in a consultant form and also figure out how to be able to move forward. And so, yeah, that's how we met, and also through a mutual friend. And the activity that she has is truly astounding in many ways.
So much evidence.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
So much.
Hearing some of the things that she was experiencing, I was going through my usual process, trying to vet what was really going on, what was... what's real in that situation. And then she showed me some of that phenomenon. I was like, oh, okay, you're dealing with something real. We can take care of that, but that's impressive. And I really found that to be beneficial. So we've been operating together, and now I get to be a part of this show to help people and help protect people as well, too. So.
Okay.
So my wife, Holly Bennett, she rides in a sport called 3-day eventing. It's an equestrian event. That's how we connected because she was in the sport. I met her before.
Let me just say, Holly Bennett is a bad bitch, and she's hot. And I want to wear her ass like a hat.
She's got to be hot to have a hot husband. She's on the
Oh, you get a lot of good attention.
First goes flying at your face.
Anyway, sorry, I just want to put that out there. We love Holly. Holly's hot. Holly's on the Olympic team. She's my idol.
She's got to be one hell of a woman to be like, sure, husband, go on tour with a bunch of gorgeous women.
You know what? She texts me every day to tell me thank you and how excited she was for us.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Wife goals.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But within recent times, we started to communicate, and I found out that she was into the paranormal, which some people know that that's something that I've dabbled in just because of some past experiences that I had, but I really try and keep that close hold because, people judge you on that.
I have my paranormal friends and I have my mom friends. And
when the mom friends find out, too. That's
Muggles.
Well, I take them on haunted tours and stuff to get them out of their comfort zone, but there's a lot of pearl clutching.
There's a whole group of people who fully have no idea where I am.
Right?
Fully.
I get it.
What do we do? And I'm like,
But I think this is how I'm going to get murdered because I invited some guy on my bus I never met. He called me up out of the blue. I knew him visually at horse shows and things like that. But then I showed up at his house and stayed there for a week last month.
Yeah, but I've only talked to you on message for like a week, and just hearing you communicate, you are very in touch with like your intuition. Like you know immediately, like this person I don't want to be around. This person I'm comfortable with.
And I'm going to punch this person in the dick.
This person, just seeing her on TV, I'm not good with being around. Like you just kind of know who your comfort zones are. So
but his story
that's better
really
than
cool. We got some footage in his house within 10 minutes of me getting there.
That's crazy.
That's crazy stuff.
I've been feeling a lot while I'm there, and I was just playing around with my body camera because it has night vision capability, and I saw a lot of orbs there, and I tried to debunk it. There's no airflow, no dust, because I'm meticulous about cleaning, but still, there's dust particles, you can tell that.
Sure, of course.
Just trying to, like I said, figure out what other possibilities it could be before saying, okay, then it's this. If you can isolate that, then of course, that's what it is. But I showed that to Stormy before she came over, and then when she came, we actually just started right in the garage. And same thing.
But it was strange because I had never spoken to you before, ever. Like, we had never spoken. It was like, Holly's husband, he's behind her at shows taking like he's the horse show husband. You know, any of us out on a horse has a guy who doesn't want to be there following us with a look of just like on their face, you know.
Yeah.
I know that look. I have a horse show husband. But we picked up the phone, and the second we started talking, he was like, I feel like I've known you forever. Wow. Can you come stay? Like, they invited me, but it was just this instant, like.
But I didn't even think she'd take us up on that. You know, it's like, because I really, when I send out an invitation, I really mean that.
Right.
It's not like, you know, the polite thing, oh, come by, we'll have coffee.
Come by sometime. Yeah.
Great accent.
Oh, thank you.
Do you realize how many emails we're going to get now? People inviting us to their house?
Yeah.
Come have coffee.
Can I come out to the West Coast?
I have a ghost, Stormy.
I will come.
Do you also have a filet mignon?
That's right. We can make that.
You gotta buy me dinner first.
We'll do it for food. We'll do it for some food.
The biggest thing with this is I've had experiences throughout my life, but particularly when I was in the Marine Corps. You know, here I am, a Marine officer. I was working for the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and then these things were happening to me, but I had no way of talking about this with anyone.
Yeah.
There's no Google.
They'd be like, mental health break.
Yeah.
Bye.
I mean, I was so scared one night that, you know, one thing happened to me. I was grabbed, and I could see a shadow figure, and it was holding on to my arm. I turned on the lights, and I called my mom, because that's the only person I can think about. Like, that would possibly have any idea of what this is. She read tarot cards, but she was a diehard Catholic. Yeah. So she was connected in that way. But she was like, she didn't say fucking, but I think she wanted to say, I have no fucking clue what it is. And she's like, oh, then you just feel alone. Yeah. So I've always had that curiosity, and I still do. I want answers. Yep. So that's primarily why I'm here. I don't know. And I just want to try and figure that out. Even if the answer is, well, there is nothing, or there's no conclusion. To me, that's an answer. So I'm just being open about that. So
I think that's super.
And your mom's definitely opinionated, and so is your sister.
Yeah.
And then after that, it cuts out, and there was no more interview. It was at the very end, so we didn't really miss too much. After that, the lights and the other recorder began freaking out. We began doing a investigation and pivoted that way, and it became pretty interesting. And I will be posting that as a part 2, because it's long and a lot of it is responding. It's on video, so what you're listening to, you can hear us acknowledge that the light is responding, but you can't see it. So I didn't know if everybody wanted to go through all of that, and so it'll be a bonus episode. Okay. So now Moni's going to ask questions that hopefully you also are asking, and I can try my best to answer them.
Well, and the story's wild, you guys, because, you know, I'm hanging out at home and it's like, by the way, might talk to Stormy Daniels. And, you know, we've had stuff behind the scenes where we might talk to somebody about this or that. So it's exciting, but, you know, you don't get your hopes up, like Kristi said. And then Kristi had this adventure that I was so jealous of that she actually not only got to do it without our intervention, but also go in person, go places. I was like, what is going places, and have investigations and adventures? And it's freaking Stormy Daniels, you guys. And I've seen the videos from it, and she's gorgeous and her crew's gorgeous. And I'm really excited to check out their show. Yeah. But my question's for you, having watched the behind the scenes, what do you think about the dynamics of the crew? Like, I know that hearing it people are going to be like, Stormy Daniels, but do you feel like she is that way with them? Like they all look to her as the star, or do you think everybody plays a equal role?
I think in the show, it's kind of clear that she's like the leader. I don't know if necessarily you would say the star per se. She's really close with all these people. And that's one weird thing about her. She knows right off the bat if she likes you or not. In fact, when Connor was like, I just met her yesterday, I'm like, what? Like they're really cued into each other, and they all kind of do a very unique, position on the show. So they're, sorry. Anyway, the position. Yes. But they all have their own voice. They have their own space, even though she's kind of the spotlight, of course, with the name and even recording, she was clear the one that was like up front and center. but I only saw very small amounts of it, so I didn't get to see the entire thing. But they all have huge different talents and skills, and so they all seem to have their own way of taking on a piece of the show.
Okay. I'm going to actually probably put together two of these questions here into one, which is kind of what we refer to as beyond the boobs, because Kristi and I, we love the boobs. We love her boobs. We love boobs in general. And everybody, if you don't like boobs, I don't know what to do with you. But she, made some jokes about them too. Obviously, she's a sex worker still. She was mentioning that that's still a current part of her life. And I wanted to know, do you think that she's someone kind of like Jessica Simpson claimed to be, 10, 20 years ago, of kind of using that as a tool to get people to underestimate her? Or do you think that's just another perfection of the well-rounded human being that she is?
I haven't spent that much time with her, but just in conversations I've had with her in direct message, and then while I was there, it is it's just part of her. It isn't something that she glamorizes or she uses as a tool. That's just who she is. Like, she's got so many layers, I have to say. Like, she is a professional equestrian. Like, she does a lot of things, and she doesn't compartmentalize them. Like, doing the paranormal investigation, her boobs are hanging out, which is fantastic to me. But that's just... It isn't that she's using it to draw attention to the show. That's just the way she dresses. And she's not going to change that based on what she's doing.
Well, I was going to say, and you mentioned that you didn't spend that much time with her, so maybe you don't know the answer to the next question. It's not super related to the paranormal stuff, but she did mention that she still is a sex worker and that that's an important component of her life.
Right.
I just think that's super interesting. Like, without judgment, it's just, that's a perspective that not a lot of people get to even be exposed to, let alone, from the side of somebody who actually does it, and somebody who does it because they enjoy it, somebody who does it because she mentioned that she thinks it's important, which is kind of interesting. And, someone who doesn't, we all make the silly, dumb joke, the cliche about it's like, it's because someone's been damaged or, who hurt you, that got you on the pole, and that kind of shit. But she mentioned that it's still an important part of her life. Do you think, just from your limited time with her, that it's because it still makes her money, or do you think it's because it's something she's actually genuinely interested in for whatever reason? Did you get any insight on that?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I don't want to speak for her. I don't think it's like her passion in life, but I think it is something that she's non-apologetically involved with, A, because of money, B, because I just don't think for her, it might, people might shit on it, but for her, it's not, she doesn't think of it that way. A lot of people, when you hear, oh, she's in porn, like, you automatically want to shit on that. And she doesn't look at it that way. She understands that people do, and she stays away from them. I mean, I've had conversations with her where I was like, you should be on this show, or you should go see this person because she's really into psychics. And she's like, that person would not like me. She just knows really quickly who would be open to her and her universe and who would not. And so she kind of surrounds herself with those people. And, and she's seriously the queen of clapbacks on social media. I can't figure out who's better, her or Kristi Teigen. So she gets it. She knows, and she's fine with clapbacking and, roasting people that want to shit on her about it. I was there for the paranormal. I didn't want to pry. Yeah. I don't like prying in people's business unless they volunteer information. And she's told me a lot of things on message that I will not speak about on here because I don't quite know yet what she's comfortable with people talking about and what she's comfortable with people not talking about. None of it has to do with the porn industry, though. So,
well, like her or not, if people don't, and that's fine. But I think it's interesting. She's not super young, and I'm not trying to be rude, but what I mean is, I feel like younger generations are a little bit more open-minded to like sex work as an actual trade and not just for damaged people. And I think that you have to kind of give some credit to someone who has paved the way and hopefully made it a little bit safer, through people starting to understand what it is. And so it's not something that you're as likely to get hurt going into because of people like her who have come before. But
right.
Okay, well, getting off of that topic, just because she was talking about her spooky babes and the paranormal stuff, which is where it meets in line with our show. I wanted to know, one of the guys mentioned about videos of bleeding ceilings and that kind of thing. Did you get to see that?
I did not. I haven't seen it, but several people talked about it individually that were not like in the same conversation. It was, and I'm anxious to see them, and I would like to. But do
you think that'll be in the show since they talked about it? Do you think that that'll be featured in the Spooky Babes TV show?
I mean, I would think they would put it in there. I didn't ask them that. It was a experience that is personal to Gamal. I don't know if that's how I'm saying his name right, and I apologize because he's a doll, so I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. But it happened in his personal. I believe the bleeding ceiling was his. Maybe it was her. You know what? Everything runs together. But I don't, you know what? I don't know. I really don't. I didn't ask. It was something that happened years before, so I didn't know if they were just focusing on the current investigations or if they would add that in, and it would be freaking cool if they did, though. That would be great.
I would love, show us the bleeding ceiling.
Exactly.
So you said the black-haired colleague, is that Anya, the really beautiful?
Yes.
Okay. Sort of like what we were just talking about in sex work, as far as it hopefully becoming more normalized. She mentioned also that there's a spiritual awakening. She called it a global one, spiritual awakening when it comes to kind of losing the taboo on the paranormal stuff. Do you agree that that's something, in your opinion, that's happening in our Western culture, or do you think that we're still very like, you can't talk about that, you'll be labeled as crazy and they'll put you in an asylum?
I agree with her. I mean, now we've even got military talking about aliens. I mean, when you get to that level, it's like there's not much that is taboo in that category. I mean, I don't want to loop aliens with spiritual and ghosts and paranormal, but they've always kind of been both equally like this taboo of you're an idiot or crazy if you believe of anything like that in the past. And now people openly talk about it. It's in the news. It's, there's so many shows around it, speaking of, and I absolutely think that it's happening on a global level for sure. Don't you? What do you think?
I mean, I think so, and I hope so. I think that some of the alien stuff we're getting right now, while it's a fun glut of information, is also a distraction mechanism for certain things, which, But I hope so, because I still feel like some of my friends, and we're elder millennials, we're just under 40, and they still are like, oh, Moni with her crazy paranormal stuff. But I've also been able to bring them into cemeteries and other situations, and they've been able to watch stuff occur in real time with me. So, but yeah, my husband, outside of my husband and my parents, which are like my sphere of influence, I think that it is a better time to talk about some of this stuff. And at the very least, I think there's a lot of interest, wherein maybe 5-10 years ago, there was more poo-pooing, like, or I'm scared and I don't want to hear about it, or it's just not real, so why even tell your silly story? But now at least people are more like, I don't know what I believe, but that's really interesting. Tell me the story. So I kind of like that, because then people are more prone to sit around and tell scary stories, which is my favorite thing. So
heck yeah, I love to be scared.
Hell yeah. So on that, I already know where you stand on this, but also from like bullshit meter, not that I would say that anybody there was lying at all, but did you believe every single one of the stories that any of them told you, or do you think that maybe they believed those stories and that's the reality for them, but maybe that didn't happen the way that you thought it happened?
Right.
Or that they
I understand what you're saying there. That's a hard question for me to answer, because things happen to me and I tell them, and I know some people are like, yeah, whatever. And then some people genuinely might believe me. I am not going to judge, I don't judge people's stories. I think it's fascinating. I think she's probably, and I think she's admittedly realizing that she's sensitive. Like, she's a sensitive. She's got some sort of ability. And a lot of the things that's happened to her, per se, where people were with her. So it's kind of like some of the people were with her here, because there was even more people that were not on the show there. So I don't think she just believes them. I know, unless she's surrounded herself with a bunch of enablers, which I don't get that impression at all, because they all are very, very strong personalities and do their own thing. And they're not a group that's just always together all the time. These are all different people that she knows in different universes of her life. Like, I have my paranormal group, I have my mom group, I have my, drinking buddies. Same with her. A lot of these people were not all together. So they're not, I don't take them as like blowing smoke up her ass. Like, some of them genuinely experienced things with her. I was most intrigued, I guess, with Connor, who is the exorcist guy, the preacher. He legitimately has the most insane things to say, but
I would love to hear his story.
I will ask him if he would like to be on the show, because he doesn't just have story, like, he backs it up. Like, he's traveled all over the world. People get a hold of him. He doesn't just go out and try to exorcise people. He gets contacted and works cases from all over the world. He's been to New Zealand. He's been everywhere. And he's like 24. So, I mean, the guy's young, but he's got serious street cred in the paranormal and spiritual universe. So they all are. I didn't get a lot of time with Justin. He's kind of he's the like the emo of the cast. He's very kind of stayed back, and he's a little quieter than everybody else. Anya, the one who's absolutely stunning, like, you just stare at her and you're just like, she is like just a descendant from gypsies. And and she reads bones. She has like a whole package, like a whole bag of bones, and she
is a Nora Roberts romance character, and I mean that in a good way. It's like somebody who's almost magical and so freaking beautiful you can't look away. And when
you get to know, when you first meet her, you're like, she's like a character. Like, you can't believe that she exists, like, and that she's actually is what she says she is. But when we went to the cemetery, and then also during the investigation, she was on point, and Colin was on with everything she said. So she's not just like this pretty scenery piece that they've plopped down to, kind of keep your eyes happy. Gamal, who is the very handsome black man on the show, you can't miss him. Even more gorgeous in person. Like, I don't know what his wife must look like, but holy shit. He's an incredibly good looking guy, and he has had some crazy, crazy things happen to him. And so he is very much like, I want answers. And I think he's probably got sensitivity that he doesn't know or can label, because so many things have happened in his home. Some of them being possibly like family, but others are more kind of sinister. So again, he's looking for answers. He's very close to Stormy. They bonded over the paranormal stuff because this has been happening to him, and she came over, and his wife is an equestrian with her. So I think she was like an Olympian equestrian or something like that. But they met through that, and so he really wanted to be involved, to get his own answers. And I think Justin was kind of the same way.
One of the things that stuck out to me was their healing team. They're talking about having a Spooky Babes healing team that basically, for our listeners, is going to be something where they send some professionals back and deal with what the actual effects are. So if they're called to someone's home and they, kick out something, make it go on to the other side, the effects of that, or if it stays living there, the effects of that obviously affect the family that are still living in these homes. What do you think about that concept? And do you think that's going to be enough to kind of set this show apart from other shows? And do you know if they're going to even feature that on camera, or is all that work sort of going to happen off camera?
Yes. So I don't know if the healing team part is going to be on the show. She talked a lot about it on the interview and off the interview, because it's, I think, almost her more important than the actual investigation part of the show. It's like, she's very, very adamant that if they're going into somebody's home and they find that the family's struggling, or there is, a lot of activity, they're not just going to do an investigation and go, yeah, here it is, well, bye. They're going to send people in to follow up and make sure that if they need any kind of not psychiatric care, but like therapy or additional investigations. Yeah, like if you need more
assistance, and who knows?
Exactly. So she's because I think she's dealt with some very traumatizing paranormal things. And I think she felt very alone during it. And I don't know what else she's going to talk about on the show versus what's private to her. So I'm kind of like, what do I say?
Sorry about that.
No, you're asking great questions. I'm just debating in my mind what I reveal and what I don't. But she's even lost relationships over some paranormal stuff. And I think sometimes probably felt really alone in all of it. And so I know that that's super important to her, that especially with children or anything like that, she has a child, and so she's very protective of children too. And that is a huge piece of the investigations. Now, whether that'll be shown on TV, I don't know. I really don't.
So one component of the interview that I've seen that you did with her was the Ellis Hotel was where it took place. And the Ellis Hotel, for those of you listening, had a huge fire in 1946, and it was the deadliest hotel fire in U.S. history. It killed 119 hotel occupants, including the original owners, and it actually is one of the reasons for the standards for building hotels and structures now is because of how deadly this fire was. And it does exist. The Ellis exists. You can now go there. I think, is it called the Weinkauf now, or is it called the Ellis?
It's the Ellis now. It was the Weinkauf when the fire happened. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. They needed to rebrand for a little, and you can kind of see why.
Yeah.
So my questions to you, it was kind of hard to tell. You guys did an impromptu investigation. First of all, tell our listeners what that was, because it was even hard to tell for me, just kind of shaky cam recorded what you were interacting with, do they think, and what happened?
So I would like to really quick, just to set up this whole scene, is I actually used to work right across the street from what is the Ellis Hotel now. When I worked there, it had been bought, but it was still an empty. Nothing had been in this hotel for, I don't even know how long it remained empty. While I was working there is when they gutted it and turned it into this boutique hotel. The company that I used to work for, that it wasn't across the main street, it was across the little side street. So it was literally right next door with just a little side street, one-way side street right there. The company that I worked for at the time is what the company my husband works for now. And they do internet. So basically they house Netflix and Google. So it's locked down, like hardcore. You can't get in without a security clearance or a badge. There were security guards at the doors 24 hours a day at the building that I work. So I used to be friends with the security guards when I would come in and out, and one of them quit unexpectedly. And I found out later when he came back, I saw him and I was like, where did you go? What happened? So this is what he told me. He said he was doing the night shift down in the lobby and saw bodies hitting the pavement outside of the hotel. Kids.
Holy shit.
And he ran out there, and the way the windows work in our lobby is when he's walking, so he saw it out the window, he gets up off the desk and he's walking. When he's walking outside, you can't see out the window. All of a sudden you get to the revolving door. He goes out the revolving door and they were gone and it was nothing there. But he saw as clear as day children hitting the pavement into the street.
Which is horrific. And especially because it actually happened. Yeah.
And it was clear enough that he thought it had actually happened. And so he runs out there, he runs outside, and there's nothing there. And he worked 2 more days, and then he quit. He couldn't take it. Like, it freaked him out that badly. So when I heard she was investigating the Ellis, I told her that story. And of course I did not tell her there was a fire. I just told her that was because she was like, don't tell me anything about the hotel. I'm like, well, I won't tell you about the hotel, but I tell you about this guy's experience. So then she was like super stoked to go. But, what happened when we were in the hotel room is when we started the interview, Stormy wanted a copy of the interview. So she wanted she got one of their paranormal cameras and put it up on the TV desk stand to also record us talking. And it has like a light on the body of it. It was a body cam that you normally strap onto like the front of you. The light on it just starts blinking all of a sudden, and that's never happened. And he was like, that doesn't mean it's a dead battery. That's like a responding to a spirit. So that's how it all got started. So then it kept doing that. It kept blinking, and we were just like, okay, that's really weird. And so we decided to see what the deal was. And what really sucks is I don't know how this happened, but like you said, some of my footage was cut out, and I don't know. I have no explanation. It's just weird. It starts, so there's one, I never stopped recording, but it shows that I did, if that makes any sense. It shows 2 different movies, 2 separate, which I never did. I don't know how that happened. So because I finally did turn the camera, but I never touched the recording piece of it. So I don't know. I have no explanation for that. I'm sure it could have been user error, but it's a fucking Nikon camera. It's not like this really hard piece of equipment to work. Anyway, so that's how all of a sudden you cut out like, and you start the investigation, which sucks because we missed the part where we start looking and seeing the light blinking. That started happening. And I know I'm filming the light, and it's kind of hard to see and it's blurry, but the light did responding to us. I see your questions about what happened at the Ellis and my overall thoughts about that hotel.
I mean, did you get vibes that it was a scary or an evil hotel, or did you get vibes that just something bad happened there, or did you not get any vibes at all?
I got the vibes that it's just a bad thing happened there, and so people are left behind, but I didn't get a impression that it was evil. Okay. It attracted bad things. It just...
Not like the Cecil was what I was... Yeah.
Right.
Cecil and everybody. That place has had too many really dark things happen for it to be not spotted by that, I guess.
I think like most of the spirits that are there are just there. They died there and they just haven't moved on. And I think that you have to really go looking for it to notice it, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't get the sense that a lot of people that stay there even know it's haunted. They really don't. Like, I just don't. When you walk in, you'd never in a million years know the horror that happened in that hotel.
Okay. No, yeah, that's kind of my question is just like something like that might even leave an imprint, of energy, but those people must have been awfully surprised in that moment that all occurred. So, okay.
Well, the other piece really quick that's really, you were talking about the hotel standards for fire. The biggest tragedy was, I mentioned in the interview, but, some of us were talking and I didn't, several people were talking at once, but is that when the children were jumping out of the window, they were jumping from so high up that they were just falling through the firemen's nets. Oh and God. So they were, they would die. And so that is, to me, like, I can't imagine, what that must have been like as a fireman, like feeling, their ladders couldn't go high enough to put out the fire. Their nets weren't strong enough. And, like you said, it changed hotel fire safety forever after that happened. So I think there were 28 students on a field trip there and high school students. So, yeah, they were all up on the upper floors.
That is, and that's the kind of thing from our perspective, though, as novice paranormal research folks, that's always really interesting, though, a place like that. But what a horrible, from any human being perspective, what a freaking horrible thing to have happen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I would be drawn to that like a moth to a flame to go check that out. So, what, too soon?
So with that is my Stormy Daniels interview. You guys will have now seen. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep your eyes out for Spooky Babes. I know she has a social media on Instagram and on Twitter that's Spooky Babes, and even her haunted doll has its own Instagram. I think it's Haunted Karen or Haunted Sarah or Sally. I don't know. You'll find it on Spooky Babes.
It's got to be a Karen.
Yeah.
If it's a Karen, I hope it has the hair.
Right. It doesn't, unfortunately, but that would be much cooler if it did. Again, with you guys, thank you so much for the support. We went a little while without posting shows, and y'all just kicked right back in like you were riding a bike. So I appreciate it. And with that, Moni, would you like to tell us how to find you?
I am at Moni Bear on Instagram and Twitter, and please go ahead and help us out by following. We've been doing great, but our new nonprofit, creatorsassemble.org. We are Creators on Twitter, and we have a Facebook page that's been going gangbusters and so on. We have a YouTube page, but if you access one, you'll find them all. Check out Creepin' It Real and Creators Assemble TV.
Yes.
Joe was making fun of me. We live in California, and then Creators Assemble, we call it CA a lot of the time, and then we do Creepin' It Real. I'm like, everything I do starts with a C.
Her nonprofit just published a book that is really amazing, that it's only $12, and 100% of it goes to charity, and so it looks amazing. I need to order mine. I keep saying that, and then I'm like, oh, PayPal. I hate PayPal, so I'm going to make Rick order it for me. I refuse to get an account on PayPal. I'm an asshole. So I got to have Ricky order it for me.
I kept my mother-in-law from ordering as well. It costs us more to do any other payment, but as by the book, we'll have more money, and then we can afford to get other accounts like Venmo and that kind of thing too.
Exactly. So, but it looks amazing, and it has lots of different diversity and really different cultural topics and things that I think everybody would be really interested in, and it's all artists. So check that out. And with that, you can find me on Creepin' at Kristi on Instagram and Creepin_it on Twitter. And we are on Facebook a lot. So, well, we haven't been lately, but we'll get back into that again. And that's it. Oh, and I will have the video. If you guys want to see Stormy Daniels and her team in the video piece, I will have that on our YouTube. And I'm also going to try to put a lot of snippets of it on my Instagram. So y'all can check them out there. And with that, Moni, you want to take us out?
Yeah, I just went on mute because a toddler and a large Labrador Retriever just entered my sphere. So I'm assuming that means it's time to go. But thank you all for being our listeners. You're wonderful. Drop us a good review and be safe and be well out there.
What was that?
Oh, you think you're clever spending money that you'll never even know what's gone. And you get to say what a good boy you were, you're so kind. Everything you touch is just